Listen to Landon, for he is right. Oh, Father, thank you. Sometimes the sun itself, first the eagle, now the sun has come to protect and to affirm the nature and the beauty of my speech, its power. I'm going to start going home soon. I'm going to talk like a Western cowboy kind of guy who's come from his many miles on his trusty mule, collecting little bits of ammunition that is probably out of date and doesn't even fit into my gun. But I'm going to break them open, take the gunpowder, and sniff it, and then light it on fire. I'm a Western prefiguring of a meth head or a coke. Ooh, that's some hot stuff, baby. What kind of gunpowder you got today? Well, some high quality stuff. We want to try a different delivery system. Take down your pants, put your legs behind your head, lie on your back, I guess it should be said, and we're going to apply some of the gunpowder to thy a-hole. Now we're going to get a stick from the fire and let her rip, baby. Wait, I'm getting a good one. Guys, wait, I'm getting a good one. No, you'll ruin it. Here it comes, Woo-wee. That's going to be one story to tell people how I blew up my own asshole. You know, that's a rush. You youngins who are jumping off of cliffs and free climbing incredibly high, difficult gorges and peaks, you got to try blowing up your own asshole. You want an adrenaline rush. Well, that's where it ends, my friend. Mrs. Bitter's speed dating at a lesbian convention. This is amazing. I like lesbians, sorry. I just mean, you're not going to get very far. No, it's not a penis. It's just a really big clitoris, I swear. Human genitalia is so weird, isn't it? It's all folded up on itself. It waits to be called to action like a little soldier. If the father has died, so soldier basically means Saul Dyer. Saul die-yer. So yer by yer, the Saul is dead and the father is gone. You become more and more a soldier, year by year. The heart of the soldier from the dementing and exploiting of the celestial physics mind in their relationship to their father. Whoa, dude, like, what did you just say? Like, seriously, man. Seriously, like, you're such a stoner, but, like, that's also cool. I feel safer almost listening to you because you're crazy on the one hand, but now which any monkey plugging away at a typewriter is bound to do. But yeah, the loss of the father is real violence comes from. Loss of the father, loss of the father. Father is very important. I lost mine. Then I walk 13,000 miles and I wrote him a letter. And my heart just poured forth. And not in like some blithe, magical, oh, I love you, I forget all the abuses, we just be friends forever kind of way, but in a really honest way, a balanced way. And I know that my father was proud of me and he's touched and he will always hold me in his heart for the rest of his days. And I know that he saw that I was my father's son, and that to me was probably to my dad. He just wanted to be proud of me. He never got that chance. I didn't ask him for anything. I asked him for a favor. I said, you know, could you just tell my sister to kind of cool her jets a bit? I don't mean her any harm, but, you know, she's a bit much to deal with. You know? She's quite a ferocious human being, as he well knows. Next thing you know, a month later or so, my mom's telling me that her and my dad had a big argument. I'm like, what was it about? Oh, I don't know. Your dad's just, you know, he's this way. So there really are lesions, the women of my family. And I'm sure, I know, thank you, feminism, that explore this hypothesis with a great deal of respect and compassion for women. Because whatever you're seeing in their behavior, these hypothetical or theoretical lesions, it's hard, but let it tell you, let their violence, such as I have felt it, tell you something about them. That might take them away from you, it might just kill you, it might demoralize you. But just think about what they've had to go through. Think about what women have had to go through. Think about that. Women don't tell you what they've had to go through. They might show you. And if they're violent, I'm not talking about men, I'm talking about women, they're showing you what they've gone through. I know this, you don't have to like them, you could hate their guts, the ugly fucking violent cunts, the predatory fucking cunts in the world that lets them get away with it. That's been programmed into the language, right? And we learn that. You gotta, I'm pulling myself away from that language without hurting women. So I'm not gonna play into this unfortunate conceit in how you've learned to behave towards men or towards men like me. That's how I'm going to improve my status in the world. By also just honoring my own power, not going out and hurting you, honoring my voice, honoring I've got to know when I don't like something. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter what anyone else thinks. You've got to know, hey, I don't. It doesn't matter if you fully understand it. You can explain it to someone. You go to a store, you go somewhere, maybe it's men. And it's like, oh, these kinds of men, oh, this doesn't feel good to me. Shit, I have to go here, I have to buy bread. I buy baby food every other day, and this is not a good feeling for me. I can't tell you why, I just don't like it. Shit. You may have to make a decision and just shop somewhere else. It sucks, right? You've got to tell yourself when you don't feel safe. Now, lots of people around you don't have such problems. They have no such qualms. They shop here. It's like, what are you talking about? Do, and they wander around like German tanks. Jeez, I wish I had that German tank. That is their response to the loss of their father. And they've just got a really strong house. They've taken over what a father is supposed to do, which is protect them. Now, from their father, from the loss of the father, from everyone. And don't you know that the most social along the most in society are often the most secure, aren't they? They're the most protected. Now, that's great when it works. I'm happy for you. I really am. And when I do a workshop, I'll go listen to your assertive way of life. But here's my objection, just in general, not to any particular, is that very type of behavior I find very problematic. Because I think that along the way, and there is a range to learning how to be more assertive and desensitized, we also produce dynamics and intersecting personality complexes that make violence not only likely but inevitable, and make it as difficult as possible to have a voice in their own safety before, during, and after. Which is exactly, to bring it back around, what we're really talking about, isn't it? The sun's coming out. Thank you very much. That's my payment. I don't need your money. I just need the sun to come out. Kindness of the trees, kindness of the trees, kindness of my mother, kindness of my father, kindness of the nature, kindness of the clouds and the mountains and the sea, kindness of the waves and the tides of the seas. And doesn't my mother always love me? Isn't my father always with me? Many turns of a wheel of torture, many times people's labor fortune goes down the tube. Health starts to fail, their mind starts to get so much weaker that they pale. Fathers and mothers leaving their children, going on the school bus, getting their educations. See the distant fires of their own minds burning. And as much as they're learning, they're enduring of the school. Difficult conditions made for a fool. Make a fool out of you, no way. Going back home, gonna have your say. You don't wanna wait on a mama. Don't you know that the Father is shining Yours and your mother so sound, their minds are crying. And they're never gonna be dying. No, not as they join the most powerful flesh and blood joined in them and the sacred blood between a woman's legs. Every fucking 2 days, you've got a mother that makes all things sound. Your mother makes things sound. Woo! These trees, they got a mercy that grows right out of the ground. And doesn't the wind make a sound on all of the leaves and the limbs of the trees of the world? The mountains themselves are like giant trees, lean to the side of the giant seas of ethereal ethers. And the seasons of your own occupations, every day, and the good and evil in its way, and through your house, your blood, your bones, everything that this world has known to cut you down, to cut you down, to cut you down. Woo. I feel like a native person watching me. Okay, let's go. We got 3/4 of a joint left. My son is having a happy little entrance into my happy, happy world. Because we can talk about serious things and I can still be happy. So my mom, I've got a goal to talk about really serious, dark things and still be happy. Because I've learned that my occupational hazard is making myself extremely morbid. 23 hours a day and expecting my life to be healthy, which it is, but a man cannot live by bitterness alone. I gotta sweeten up my days, or you have to be able to make mistakes. I'm on a health walk, but I'm not perfect. I dare say far from it. In a way that we should be imperfect, because even a circle in a perfect circle is imperfect. Why? Because it has to be able to grow. What pi tells you is there's no perfect circle. It has to be wrong. Why? As surely as it has to be round. Why? Every day has to have a bit of evil. Why? Why? Hello? Are you listening? Can I hear you? Because we can never completely have what we want. We have what we want. We don't have what we want, because hunger and the strength of our hunger and all the other strength of our life is heaven incarnate. It's heaven. Right? If your faith is not heaven, if your faith is not strong, if your faith is not in the very strength of the heavens and the earth, and the bones and blood of your people, come what hell, what may. And why do we need to go to hell? Because we learn where everybody is coming from. Hell is heaven. They're the same thing. Earth, heaven is in the sky. Heaven is in the birth of a human mind. Thought dwells in heaven, that dwells on the earth, and every thought that dwells on the earth dwells in heaven. Don't be shy, my friends. Don't be fucking shy thinking and using your mind. Say words like fuck and shit. Don't worry, the heavens don't give a fuck. It's only the stupid fucking righteous fucking moral cunts of this world who think it matters what fucking word comes out of your mouth when you're talking to yourself in the woods. I can understand talking to other people and children. You should mind your fucking language. It's as tortured as it is. Don't threaten them by using a language that reminds them they're fucking animals. They'll sink every fucking day of their life, or they might as well not even be going to the bathroom every single day of their life. Full of mental shit. You have to keep your mind working, fluid. Because most of what you learn in life, you cannot tell other people. All that shit gotta go somewhere, man. You gotta make use of it. You can earn all the money in the world, but if you don't use the shit from being in the world by using your voice every day, well then it's like sitting on $1 billion heritage and having no access to it. The world does enough to deprive you of having access to your heritage. So if you use your voice, you can get a little back. You know what I mean? Your paganies, your history, right? What bothers you every single day, what malingering chronic issues, parental, family, romantic, right? Spiritual, metaphysical, grievous, bereavement. I mean, it's bereavement really is the main issue, right? Well, right? right? Grief and bereavement. We are kind of always grieving. There's a lot to grieve between childhood and today. Right? Everyone in the world is turned into who they are from being a child. When you think about that, it kind of makes you swallow hard. It's like, what? Yeah, what you called growing up was a kind of deneutering process. You were watching your friends change in certain ways, just like you were changing. You know, and some people grow together, some people grow apart. The ones that grow apart, they learn a lot more about the world because you see people change. I had friends that I made in high school, and it seemed like when I look back to the first times they ever would spend time with me, it was when I was helping them with their homework. Not because they really needed help, but they just wanted me to do their homework for them. I was smarter than them at school, but they were smarter than me at life. I was a dupe, they were narcissists. And it turned out as I got older that all they ever wanted, whatever I could give them, and whatever they happened to think that they needed from me. You know? And that was what they thought was a relationship or a friendship. And it's not nice. It doesn't feel good. And when you look at all your relationships, people of different sexual and economic backgrounds, a tendency to a certain economic background that I share with the types of boys that I went to school with, let's say. So I'm not like living in Manhattan. Remember, these things go on in every family. And I wasn't just gaining friends, I was losing them. You know, my relationships were like the conjunctions of two exotic stars or planets orbiting completely different. Why is that? Why should the orbit of our life, whatever it be around, take us away from each other? Isn't that interesting? And I approached this subject in one of my first novels. How things stretched, how things went away from us as we grew. And what do they say about the universe, which is made up? It's formatting. That as the universe grows, the very fabric of space and time grows, and everything's getting what? Farther apart. Right? Everything's getting farther apart, being split up and farther apart. Right? Like a giant Pangea. Think about that. And everything on Earth started as one continent, and all went farther apart. And in the Bible, everyone sort of spoke one language, and what happened? It became all kinds of different languages. Who do you think controls these narratives? Dun 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 dun. Dun 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 dun. Similar about all of them. Okay? And Jesus in the Bible says, I'm going to rip your father. Everything's going to be as evil as possible because you're so fucking evil. Right? So you better follow me. It's for your own good. And God says that Jesus isn't really his son. And Jesus at the no, he's like, Dad, what the fuck? I thought you were my father. I thought you were friendly. And the person being abused quite often is doing it, someone's doing it to them in public. It's like, whoa, what's happening? Where's this coming from? Oh, you know. You know. Huh? No, I don't know. That's exactly what someone, right? Dun, 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 dun. Time to make a separation of us. Time for the incision. Go away, go away. The more violent, usually for their own survival, that any group of people will be, the less articulate, the less pain or trouble they'll take to put it clearly for you that they really want nothing to do with you if you don't conform to certain types of claims upon your behavior, and a complete elimination, as they might accuse you of your voice and your own personal space and dignity. And they can do this in different sexes just because they ever met you once or they saw you somewhere. And it's so common. It's like an industrial effluent in people's minds. And you can bet that none of these people spend a lot of time thinking every day. None of these people have any time or had any time, whatever they've done in life, to deal with their grief as human beings. And the stresses and the fractures in the expanding universe of their nuclear family. Right? Amazing, isn't it? So, be thankful of your strength, your survival, your endurance. Chances are, bereavement your mind may or may not suffer from, other people do too. And you're probably pretty good at dealing with it. Right? Oh, really? And your parents are too. People deal with things their way. They may not really be dealing, it might not be dealing according to us, but they are coping. is dangerous, because when there's violence, you're really talking about conflicts in people's coping systems, right? Or they're tilting because they're highly suggestible, and someone has tilted them in the direction of an hysterical or psychotic state. And a lot of people are very close to that every day of their lives, right? You know, people will listen to bullshit and go, "Ah, yeah, it's bullshit." Other people will be like, it'll change their entire life. Relationships, they'll change their life because some woman tells them something, convinces them, and their body sings with the truth of it. And then to present information in a way that, at least in a theatrical sense, is completely. It only demands a suspension of disbelief, a mind that can't fully reason. It can't really account, as one may be well expected to be able to, this world, that people can be wrong and malicious. People can be sincerely wrong, sincerely misinformed. You know, to account for the changing passions of the human mind and its many gambits for survival that it may never to, as long as it remains in the lower classes, which is basically you and me, and anyone listening, except of course the government and the think tanks, which render and intelligently analyze literally all of the audio discourse every day all over the world. But that's another story. Of course they do. There are city blocks in your country dedicated to doing nothing else than listening to every single cell phone in your country or your continent, or even doing work for other countries. And imagine how far advanced the technology is to just gain all kinds of things about the human race by listening through all our electronic devices, refrigerators, watches, clothing, anything that they can attach any kind of thing that can reflect energy. And you look at the chemtrails and how it contains particulates, and how that might improve the fidelity of information gathering from the different shared spaces of human beings. Right? What if they could use the entire sky to upload billions of bits of information almost instantaneously and beam it anywhere in the world at the speed of light, even through the center of the earth? All that technology exists to stay as advanced as maybe the earth herself could be in all human interaction and behavior. What everyone is thinking everywhere in the world. To have such a command of the language, to understand patterns of speech, voice, intonation, subject matter, the general bent of people's minds, their opinions, religious orientation, sexual orientation, the fate of your relationships, the up and down nature of your domestic situation, your fantasies, every time you look at porn, every time you play with yourself, everything. Heart rate, who knows what they measure, right? Just looking at galvanic responses in your thumb and forefinger, and it's pressed to the smutty screen that you're glued to for a few desperately short minutes before you fall asleep on your mother's couch. Or maybe that's just me. You know? It's like part of my fantasies include who might be listening to them, what they might be learning about the human race. Like, I'm basically helping the government think tanks learn about you. They're like, I'm basically bending the curve. It's like, they're going to think less about you. They're going to maximize their education systems and their vaccination programs because I exist. We can't let any more of these suckers slip through. And all I did is listen to Friedrich Nietzsche, or Mark Twain, or Machiavelli, or Shakespeare, because they all tell you the truth, and the truth shines in the darkness of the theater. The audience comprehendeth it not. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was made flesh. That tells you everything you need to know. If you want to look at everything in the world on the birth of our flesh and blood. And the Word is considered God's Word, and the Word is owned. And as much as you are a word out of your mother's womb, or the mother themselves, that word belongs to your owner. It belongs to chronological time. It belongs to the banking system. It belongs to the metaphysical systems, which have put out their many nets, caught in their net, which is the alphabet systems of the world, the fish of the human race and dragged in their property, right? Constantly, right? Look at the saturation of typically invisible motifs about gender conflation in all the media and advertising. Okay, full stop. No offense, but like studying global ceremonial witchcraft and human sacrifice is a task, even just to keep within the realm of avant-garde cultural anthropology and for abnormal psychology and group psychology. And you know, you can find all this stuff from George Carlin to Carl Jung basically telling you about it somewhere. But the light shines in the darkness, and the audience who sits there in their suspension of disbelief and waits for a bunch of really powerful representative father organs to solve all their fucking problems. But of course, they're never going to solve their problems because their main problem is that they've lost their father. And everything else that comes from that is a problem, right? Until you solve the original problem, right? We got God the Father, and yet all these people with father issues. Because you can predict World War I and II if you knew all the father issues people were and are still having. Right? You solve the father issues, you solve all violence on earth. Dun, 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 dun. On our next episode on the nature of things, I morph into David Suzuki, and my eyes take on a look of wisdom, but also tiger reflexes, as I take you on a quick, witty, and insightful tour of the asshole of the banking economic industrial complex. Next, on the nature of things. Dun, 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 dun. Feel free to use this moment to go and get a snack and maybe even spank it in the bathroom. Yes, that's you. Okay, welcome back. For those of you who are still on the banking, joke's on you. Don't worry, the first few minutes are just me rambling on and trying to find my way, as it were, in the dark, bituminous Rubicon of the world's cavernous. Okay. Scuttle. Okay. Alright, let's change languages. What if someone thought that speaking a different language was just changing the tone of your voice? It's like, I can speak Indian. Oh, parlez-vous French very well? Yes, I do. And Italiano. I speak Italian. It's like, no, you don't, dude. You're just changing your voice to different accents. An accent isn't a language. Oh, it's 99% of the language. It's body language. Baby, I speak Italian. Versace, you know what I'm saying? No, I don't really. And I spent a lot of money on this course, so you should start making sense soon, or I'm going to leave and file a petition of protest to the Dean of Admissions. Why the Dean of Admissions? Well, because I want to see him, I want to make him hurt until he admits to all kinds of things. There's nothing to do with you, but it just seems like a good excuse to leap to another tale of female violence towards men. Wait a second, I feel like a character in a man's mind. I can't control myself. He's making me do things that I'm not really doing, and then accusing me of being guilty of things that are only going on in his own mind, his own patriarchal schizophrenic delusion. Yeah, wow. What I learned from violence is how confusing it is. How many surreal twists and turns your voice has to be able to take, and so your voice has to be flexible to sustain. You know, not just like some academic twisting of human logic. No, something like Sun Yu would have taught in some of his early classes before he became properly cowed by his Indian wife. You know what I mean? People are fucking harsh when they think they have the righteous upper hand, and they don't know that their judgment is way off, and their brain just can't sustain enough of certain kinds of stimuli to continue operating as though it's often got enough air at critical moments in its development in their mother's womb. And so they become a headache. Why do people become a headache for you? Well, because they're basically going to put parasites into your blood and starve you for something that you become accustomed to expecting, which is like a sense of safety doing things you normally do. They're going to rob you of that, right? And they're going to get away with it. Problem, right? People will say it's basically all what you tell yourself and the story that you tell. Well, let's be fair. I mean, as we walk around these beautiful lands, I should be all bitter because, it's you want to enjoy yourself, and I should enjoy these beautiful lands. And why should I waste them being more bitter than I need to be? And, well, you're right. It is something, though, isn't it? What people can do.